So I was driving here I was on the freeway, and I kind of see these headlights just zooming up behind me, and this car just tears past me, going, God, had to be 100. I'm not even kidding. I was going about 70. And it's just like an original Prius. He's like swerving in and out, like he almost crashed 3 times. I was like, this one Prius is making up for all of the horrible slow Prius drivers I've encountered in the last 20 years, you know?
I mean, there's this girl in my Algebra 4 class, I think it was freshman year of college, and she's like, yeah, I got another ticket driving back from San Jose. And I'm like, don't you drive a Prius? And she was like, yeah, I was going 90. I was like, Jesus Christ. I didn't know a Prius could hit 90 back then.
90 in a Prius.
Welcome to Namely 90s. Wow. The podcast that takes you back to the time before smartphones, Google, and Y2K. Join your hosts as they relive the pop culture that shaped a generation and the parts that many people wish they could forget. Listen in to the conversation about how the decade defined those who spent their childhood there and how it shaped them as adults. So, turn down the grunge and dial up the internet. Let's get started. It's time for Namely 90s.
That's right. You're listening to Namely 90s. My name's Andrew, and over there is Brandon.
That's me.
You can find us online at namely90s.com or on Instagram and Bluesky at Namely90s. You can also find the show every Monday at youtube.com/@namely90s. And if you'd like to support the show, head over to our soon-to-be retooled/deleted Patreon at patreon.com/namely90s, also with a 90s.
I'm sure we'll retool it at some point.
Welcome back.
Welcome
to the show.
Thank you. Yes.
Listeners. This is Dr. Fraser Crane. I feel like in this pose, I'm like doing the Fraser thing, you know?
I'm listening. I mean, I guess speaking of Fraser, he played Beast in the X-Men movies. I started watching the X-Men animated series tonight, just because the new season of the original animated series from the 90s is coming back next week.
Right. We watched the trailer for that, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you know, I watched it as a kid, but I didn't see every episode. I preferred the Spider-Man animated series. I tried watching it during the pandemic, because I did rewatch the Spider-Man animated series during the pandemic. And it's, you know, same animation house, I think, and style and storyline, and they cross over and whatever. But it's just like, I couldn't do it. And this time, not paying attention really helps.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's good, but it's also like, wow, they're literally like, they're just still, there's a still of the animation of Magneto just having his hand there, and then there's just concentric circles radiating out of like the middle of the screen. It's like,
seems a bit
cool.
Cheap.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's not as bad as like the Iron Man one, but Spider-Man is definitely the definitive best animated Marvel thing from that time period. Yeah, just need to throw that out there. And also, I didn't make you watch that Tenacious D YouTube video before we started.
I first and foremost want to say, I listened to last week's episode, and I sincerely, again, apologize. Like, I said some insensitive things, but very unintentionally.
Yeah.
And no, seriously, did not intend for any of that. Normally, I'm all about word plays and puns and stuff. But wow, so sorry. I won't really rehash it, but
really seeps in there, doesn't it?
Boy,
just subconscious these days.
Yeah, so that was a thing. But yes, I watched the Tenacious D Baby One More Time.
Oh, you did? Wow.
I did. Yeah, I was here a few minutes early, and
fair.
It was pretty funny, and I also liked some of the hand motions that went along with it.
Oh yeah.
No, there was you didn't catch the "My loneliness is killing me" hand motion.
When did he choke himself?
No, it was like a sort of a self-pleasuring type motion.
Yes, I do remember that now. Yeah, and
there was also like a vague thrusting motion that wasn't that vague.
Yes. For those of you that don't know, Tenacious D, that's Jack Black's band, him and Kyle.
The other guy.
Yes. Kyle. His last name starts with a G because they call him KG. I'll say Gas or Glass. They did a cover of Britney Spears' Baby One More Time for Kung Fu Panda 4. I believe it plays spoilers over the credits. And wasn't bad.
No, it was fine.
I mean, obviously Britney's is the definitive version, but I'd listen to theirs, I guess. Maybe.
It's Britney, bitch.
And then they were interviewed asking, would you, do you have words for Britney? Because apparently they haven't actually talked to her for this song. But Jack Black's like, come on and let's dance in a music video together. Because you know how she's all about the dancing and staring up at her iPad.
Oh, do you know Beyonce announced her next country album?
A second one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Do you think it'll be better than the first?
No. In fact, I highly doubt it.
You don't think she'll improve upon the one that she just released?
Well, you make a good point. It's hard to do much worse. No, I don't know. So that's the thing that's going to happen. Hopefully not immediately, because her other one literally came out 3 weeks ago.
It was released during the Super Bowl.
So 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago.
The first full week of last month, February, yes. Which I guess was 4 weeks ago. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, the Oscars, right?
That one song that we did listen to wasn't the worst. Just people don't seem to like it.
It cleared the dance floor at a gay bar in Dallas. I don't know how you can, what testament to bad country music you can possibly have. You know what I mean?
I mean, what country music were they listening to in a gay bar in Dallas?
I mean, not a lot, but the point still remains. Oh, I forgot. We talked about it in person, but the Oscars.
Yes.
I was right. I said 6, and then I said 7.
No, you said 7. Yeah,
Oscars
you said 7.
For Oppenheimer, and that was correct.
Out of 14, so they batted 500. I
mean, and batting 500 is good in baseball, but in the Oscars, that's pretty darn impressive. Not the best, not the best performance ever, probably, but pretty close. So that was awesome.
I don't know how to fact check that with the 4 minutes we have left in this bit.
How many Oscars have been won? Anyway, so that was the thing that happened.
Yeah. I think they got snubbed in categories they should have won, and they won categories that they didn't need to win.
Yeah, I mean, you had Robert Downey Jr. won the award for highest cocaine budget. No, he's clean now. Oh god.
Yeah. And that was his first Oscar. I well deserved.
I like RDJ. He kind of has a thing that he does, but in this movie, it was well done. You forget it's him, by the way, when you watch this movie.
I think Paul Giamatti. Well, yeah. You forget it's him in the movie. He goes up on stage. He does the Tony Stark piece. Yeah. So.
Yeah, Paul Giamatti. I just feel like it's hard for a character actor to do a movie like this and win an Oscar for it.
Last year, Brendan Fraser won for Whale.
Is Brendan Fraser a character actor, though?
He put on all that weight to be the fat guy. That's a character. No,
meaning a non-main character actor. Meaning they're in lots of stuff. They're kind of famous, but they're never the star of the movie. That's what I think when I think character actor. The people who make the rounds who are on CSI, and then they're on NCIS. There's the villain that week, and then they're in some sort of summer movie. That kind of character actor. Paul Giamatti doesn't carry a lot of movies. He's in a lot of movies.
Fair.
And I think it's hard to overcome that at the Oscars.
Yeah, I guess. Which I guess he needs to turn out a few more of those weird artsy roles that he always does, right? Except more in the public eye. Yeah.
Yeah. Is right.
I watched the whole thing. That was the first time I watched the whole thing in over a decade. Yeah.
Did Jimmy Kimmel have Aaron Rodgers come on as a special guest?
No.
Oh,
are they friends?
No. Aaron Rodgers was saying all those nasty things about him.
Got it.
On that god-awful Pat McAfee show. God, that guy can just...
Did you hear RFK Jr. is considering Aaron Rodgers as a VP running mate? By the way, RFK Jr. does not stand for the Kennedy family's legacy. He's an anti-vaxxer, and he's a crazy man who takes his shoes and socks off to use a public airplane restroom.
No. I think we know who's going to be on the ballot this year, though.
He's anti-science. Yeah. Well, I mean, we do know that Biden and the previous president also ended up on the ballot this year again.
Indeed.
Are we just in hell?
Slim pickings.
Yeah. But don't vote for RFK Jr. That's all I'm saying. Unless you're a Trump supporter, then vote for RFK Jr.
Yes, absolutely that. Absolutely that. Yeah, it should be interesting.
Because he's more in line with your values. Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of the chit chat section.
Yeah. Speaking of hell, no, or the dead, which I wish I am.
Speaking of hell, in memoriam.
Yeah. In memoriam, one of the greatest manga artists.
Crap. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in Dragon Ball Z, they do have hell. There's a hell that the bad characters go to. Akira Toriyama should not be in hell. But yeah, last week I said Akira Toriyama died. I'm going to bore you 10 minutes of his life, or 10 minutes of your life about his life. He was born in Japan in 1955. He died on March 1st. He was a manga artist, character designer. I mentioned this last week, but he first achieved mainstream success for his manga series, Dr. Slump, which was
about a doctor with excellent posture.
Yes. It was kind of a weird, like a scientist who creates like this superhuman robot thing, kind of like Astro Boy, except it's a girl, and it's a lot of eccentric characters. It's weird. They show up in Dragon Ball every once in a while. It's just like, okay, it's weird, but he based off of like sci-fi tropes at the time. Then he went on to create Dragon Ball, which is obviously his most famous work, as well as he did character designs for Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger, and Blue Dragon. He was regarded as one of the most important authors in the history of manga, and his works are highly influential and popular.
Wow.
A lot of artists cite him as a source of inspiration. Like if you followed any artists on Twitter or Instagram last week, they were all like posting tributes and like, oh, he inspired me to do this and inspired me to do that. A lot of good artwork came out last week. Let's see. Dr. Slump, which we previously mentioned, sold over 35 million copies in Japan.
That's everybody, isn't it? Or it was back then. Yeah,
pretty much. And he won the 1981 Shogakukan Manga Award for Best Shonen Manga. It was adapted into an anime series, which I did not realize. Although that may be referring to Dragon Ball.
I think so.
No, it's not. His next series, Dragon Ball, would become one of the most popular and successful mangas in the world. Sold 260 million copies worldwide. It's one of the best-selling manga series of all time, and one of the main reasons for the period when manga circulation was at its highest during the mid-'80s and mid-'90s. Manga is Japanese comic books, essentially, for those not in the know. Yes. I already mentioned he was influenced by Astro Boy. He was impressed by 101 Dalmatians, the animated Disney classic. He liked Hong Kong martial arts films, especially the Bruce Lee film Enter the Dragon, and Jackie Chan films like Drunken Master.
That kind of makes sense then.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could see where the influences for his fighting manga came from. He also liked science fiction films like Alien and Galaxy Quest, which was a 90s film. He was influenced by animator Toyo Ashida, who, let's see. I really did my research on this very well.
Yeah, I see that.
Yes. Let's see. More about Dr. Slump. Comedy series, like I said, it's puns, toilet humor, and a lot of sexual innuendos.
I thought that was like more of a US thing, but apparently not.
Oh, I mean, it gets weird in Japan, man.
True. I guess you make a good point.
Yeah. Like I said, there's science fiction elements, aliens, anthropomorphic characters, time travel, and parodies of like Godzilla, Star Wars, and Star Trek. Yeah. A running gag in Dr. Slump is that it utilizes feces and is that was the inspiration for the pile of poop emoji, apparently. Citation.
Wow, what a legacy.
What a legacy. Just a little bit about Dragon Ball if you don't know about Dragon Ball, so we don't have to do a whole episode on Dragon Ball. It's loosely based on the classic Chinese novel Journey to the West, with Goku being a character based on Sun Wukong and Bulma as Tang Sanzang. It was also, as mentioned just previously, inspired by Hong Kong martial arts films, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, and it was set in a fictional world based on Asia, taking inspiration from several Asian cultures, including Japanese, Chinese, Indian, Central Asian, Arabic, and Indonesian
there's
cultures.
Just like Bolivians there for some reason.
Yeah.
And the show largely centered around half of each episode was them just charging up various energies to throw at each other.
So that was Dragon Ball Z. Back the first half of the story for Journey to the West is Goku as a kid, and he travels around collecting Dragon Balls, fighting random bad guys, and encountering people like in Journey to the West. And then it gets weirder. There's a martial arts tournament because people liked his. They're like, I don't like this adventure stuff so much. I want more fighting. So,
the tournaments where like kids are just kicking each other in the head without any sort of protection.
Yep.
Like in Cobra Kai.
Exactly. I mean, it kind of feels like that drew from Dragon Ball, or maybe it was tangential. And then eventually Goku grows up and Dragon Ball Z starts, and the whole alien thing starts because apparently Goku was an alien, and then aliens come.
Oh boy. And then at the end, it all turned out to be a dream sequence.
and the dad from Step by Step, it was in his shower, and he's suddenly surprised that they came in on that. Also, because it was based on Japanese, Chinese, Indian, Central Asian, Arabic, and Indonesian cultures, it's a little racist in depictions at times in the original Dragon Ball manga.
Yeah, but the Japanese get away with that.
Well, yes, in Japan, but then once it gets outside of Japan, you're kind of just like, wow, that man is entirely just the embodiment of bad black portrayals in
not good.
Cartoons.
It's not good.
Which people claim doesn't have the same weight in Japan as it does, but it kind of does.
Yeah, I mean,
it does.
They don't just get a pass.
Yeah. And also, like, there's actual Native American Indians, or in Dragon Ball, there's Indian. Did I say Indian the first time? I meant to say Native American.
Thank goodness you're putting your foot in your mouth this episode.
There's Native Americans in
Indian.
Yeah, and there's Indians depicted in it with Galram 80s with its different time period and such.
Were you and I talking about? Was it Lou Diamond Phillips playing
yes.
Suchi? He's Filipino.
Yes. I think I said that a week or two ago. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize he was Filipino, but until like a couple weeks ago when someone's like, what are the top Filipino actors? I'm like, had to Google that one. Yeah. So one thing about Toriyama was that he liked his comedic style, the readers enjoyed more of like the pure fighting stuff where people, as Andrew said, just scream at the television for 30 minutes. And so like he didn't plan out what would happen. He just kept, it's like, oh, this happens and then this happens. And often he would contradict himself down the line.
It's like most US TV series.
Pretty much, yeah, because it's so long running. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot in season 1 that I had some random joke about him being her sister.
Yeah, like I feel like now when I watch TV, I can tell I'm being strung along, and it's like kind of distracting. Like I'm rewatching Burn Notice, which to me is pretty excellent throughout its entire run. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like now in like the later seasons, it like everything loses a bit of the original fun of the show, but at the same time, it's like, if it stays the same, then it gets boring.
Totally.
So
yeah,
it's been fun though.
Yeah, and same like Riverdale. They went into the first season. They're like, I don't actually know how this mystery is going to be solved. We'll figure it out at some point, and then write like every possible way that it can't be solved, and then be like, oh yeah, he was the killer. Yeah, doesn't make sense. Didn't plant seeds.
Anyone can write a Burn Notice script. You go like open on women in bikinis playing like that sort of Caribbean sounding music. Someone has a hopeless problem that they're going to get killed by somebody. Mm-hmm. And then they pull some shenanigans, never get shot or pulled over, and save the day.
Exactly.
And I love it.
And all that to say, rip to the max, Akira Toriyama. Thank you for Dragon Ball. Thank you for bringing anime to the West. Yeah.
Or bringing the West to anime.
Journeying the West to anime Goku.
And now let's go to Brandon for the Namely 90s Minute.
Welcome back to Namely 90s Minute. Every week we look back at a culturally relevant show, movie, or piece of pop culture that probably helps stoke the algorithm. This week, in honor of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, we're looking back at the animated Ghostbusters series from the... you know what? Screw it. Ghostbusters 2 came out the year I was born. It was on TV all the time when I was a kid with the original as well. We're doing Ghostbusters 2, y'all. Ghostbusters 2 is a 1989 supernatural comedy sequel to the original Ghostbusters, starring the groundskeeper from Caddyshack, one of the Blues Brothers, the co-writer of Groundhog Day, Ripley from the Alien franchise, Darth Helmet from Spaceballs, the FBI assistant director from Miss Congeniality, the voice of Bo Peep from the Toy Story franchise, Camp Counselor Gary from Addams Family Values, and the coroner from Psych. Taking place 5 years after the end of the original, the city of New York sued the Ghostbusters for the property damage incurred during their showdown with Dozer and have been barred from investigating the supernatural, which left the team disbanded and working other jobs. Dana, Peter's ex-girlfriend, is working at an art museum restoring artwork while also being a single mom to a baby from an ex-husband. She contacts the Ghostbusters after her son's stroller rolls into a busy intersection, possibly because of a ghost. Meanwhile, at the museum, a painting of Vigo, the Carpathian, comes to life and enslaves Dana's boss and orders him to bring a baby, so the boss, who is infatuated with Dana, picks her baby to drive the plot forward. Meanwhile, the Ghostbusters investigate the intersection where the store magically moved into it, not because Dana is a burned-out single mother working for a creep while being able to afford to live in a nicer part of NYC, and they find a river of slime running through the city's abandoned tunnels. While investigating, they accidentally cause a citywide blackout after being attacked by the slime. The Ghostbusters are put on trial for their antics, but get the judge to dismiss the charges when ghosts run rampant in the courtroom, and they save the day. One night, the slime invades Dana's apartment, so she seeks refuge at Peter's place while they rekindle their relationship. The Ghostbusters realize the slime reacts to emotions, and suspect it has collected all of New York's negative emotions, because everyone's so angry there. Also, while following the slime, they get sucked in and end up at the museum, and start to fight each other because the negative emotions in the slime influence them. They try and tell the mayor what's going on, but the assistant mayor has them committed. Dana's baby gets stolen and taken to the museum, and on New Year's Eve, the slime rises to the street, so the mayor fires his assistant mayor and frees the Ghostbusters, who ride the Statue of Liberty to break the slime barrier and face off against Vigo to save Dana's son. The crowd outside sings a song to get positive and weaken Vigo, and they bust him, replacing him in the painting with Dana's baby as well. And that's Ghostbusters 2 in a Namely 90s Minute. More or less.
And now, back to the show.
figured we'd just start.
Yeah. Like how the audience is cheering at times.
Hey there, Brandon and Andrew. It's Gaz and Dange from TIDRP, your brother horseman in this retro apocalypse.
Today we have a little quiz for you, a memory game if you will, that Gaz has lazily named Quote the 90s.
This week we're sending you a quote and see if you can guess its origins from some piece of pop culture from the 90s.
Just remember, our worlds weren't as interconnected then as we lived across the pond and the internet still ran on coal.
We'll also, because we're copying you, do multiple readings and either do a poor imitation of the character/person who said it, or poor imitations of whoever we feel like.
And if you're lucky, you'll hear me slip into my terribly offensive English accent.
Is that enough of a setup for you lads? Are you ready for Quotely 90s?
Name the movie and if possible the character that said this. Bonus points for the actor.
Well, I hope that you're up for a little competition. She's got a power tool in the bedroom there.
Well, I hope you're up for a little competition. She's got a power tool in the bedroom, dear.
I hope you're up for a little competition. She's got a power tool in the bedroom, dear.
Well, I hope you are up for a little competition. She has got a power tool in the bedroom, dear.
Well, I hope that you're up for a little competition. She's got a power tool in the bedroom, dear.
Yeah, well, I hope you're up for a little competition. She's got a power tool in the bedroom, dear.
Was it a song or was it a...
No, I think it was a movie.
Okay. Because it was a song last week, or last time. By the way, happy birthday, Dange. Happy belated birthday.
You don't know. It sounds like a comedy.
Yes. I mean, at first I thought I thought it was all innocent like, so I was like, toy soldiers. But no.
You think like maybe a comedy, a stoner movie?
Something sexual.
Like a high schoolish movie? Something a little older, maybe?
Possibly.
What's the last word they were saying?
Deer.
Yeah, see, deer, that doesn't imply youth.
True. Unless it's like an older woman talking to a
yeah, true.
Teen that's like trying to.
Is this like an Adam Sandler?
She's got a power tool in the bedroom, dear.
Shippity dippity.
Shippity dippity.
Oh, he's gonna do the voice.
She's got a power tool in the bedroom, dear.
You just sound like the child molester from Family Guy.
Oh, Chris, you want to give me some sugar?
Oh no!
Come down to my basement.
Something with Matthew McConaughey.
Like Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, that doesn't sound quite right.
No. Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be like
it's like a raunchy comedy. I would guess.
A raunchy comedy where like a girl's a sex pot. Like there's something about Mary or something with Cameron Diaz.
Okay.
We've already had The Mask thrown at us once.
Power tool in the bedroom to compete
like
with.
Power tool in the bed. Oh, what's the
Is that the sound
SNL?
she made during Superstar or
I was going SNL, but it's
the other one.
Yes, with there's an afro. You're not thinking. You're thinking, Ladies Man.
Yeah.
Like with what's his face?
Tim Meadows.
Tim Meadows. Want to go Ladies Man? Tim Meadows.
Yeah, we need to get something. Yeah, Ladies Man, Tim Meadows.
Oh yeah.
In Ladies Man.
Okay.
It's a guess.
Did you struggle with this one?
Yes.
Help is on the way, dear.
I hope you're up for a little competition.
Oh.
I beg your
Pride
pardon?
and Prejudice.
She's got a power tool in the bedroom, dear.
Was said by Robin Williams' Euphigenia Doubtfire in the 1993 smash hit Mrs. Doubtfire.
Based on a successful book from the 80s,
We were in the right vein.
This family comedy was loved by kids of all ages the world over and was the second highest grossing film of 1993 behind only Jurassic Park.
And if you want to hear more about Mrs. Doubtfire, then tune in when our Mrs. Doubtfire episode lands in April.
Now, let's hand it back over to those confusingly accented, cross-dressing deviants, Brandon and Andrew.
Try saying her first name 5 times fast.
I'll cut us out.
I don't even know what he said.
Yeah.
I talked over.
Well,
that was rough, but I feel like
you'll
we did
hear
a good
it 'cause
job.
I'll cut our voices out.
You did a good job of getting into the right vein.
And we got the right voice. The hello.
Yeah, like older woman.
Yep.
Sort of
kind
man.
Of. Yeah. But yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire, we've sent that one to them before, so they got us back with it. I mean, it would be unfair. We've sent over 130 or some to them,
Right,
so.
but I feel good that we actually had like a legitimate guess.
Yes, wasn't the right guess.
Because a lot of times, though, I'm like, I don't know. What do you think?
That's true.
Like, there was a legit guess happening there.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't ring any bell. The quote didn't ring any bells.
Right.
But you know, once you hear the line, I'm like, oh yes, I've seen that line before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a minor line in the movie, which is the point. Like if you just said like the classic lines, like "Do not go in there," like we would know what that is.
Yeah, like they easily got Ghostbusters when you were like, they're totally gonna get it because we said who you gonna call.
Who you gonna call? Yeah.
But it was, yeah.
Ghostbusters.
No. We're not even going to talk about Ghostbusters this episode.
Yeah, this is the Ghostbusters episode in which we talk about Ghostbusters for 30 seconds at the very end.
To be fair, this week's Namely 90s Minute is on Ghostbusters 2, which you've already heard, listeners. But
Ghostbusters
was from 1989. So blurring the definition of what the Namely 90s Minute covers this week. But yeah, are you going to go see the new one?
No.
Did you see the last one?
No.
Did you see the 2016 one with
the women?
Kate McKinnon? No. Yeah. Did you see Ghostbusters 2?
I think he was going to say Kate Middleton. I was like, yeah, she was photoshopped into that movie.
Timely reference.
Thank you. Oh, boy. Well, I think we did it.
Yeah, that's it for this week's edition of Namely 90s. Sorry it was so short, but we're out of time on our hosting for this month.
If I had the third time I said, sorry, it's so short.
You can find us on Instagram, Bluesky, and YouTube at Namely90s with 90s, and tell us what you want us to talk about. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I forgot to do the thing for them. If you like your retro with an equal helping of 80s to watch down the 90s, check out the Insanely Dangerous Retro Podshow, which I forgot to say last time we did this, on your platform of choice, and follow up with those wascally wabbits on this Thursday's episode. Follow up in April for their Mrs. Doubtfire's episode. You'll even get to catch us delivering a quotely 90s to Gaz and Dange. Actually, they don't have an episode this week or next week. I don't know. Figure it out. Sometimes our quotely 90s is relevant to our next week's episode. Yeah. But yeah, if you'd like to support our show, please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/namely90s, also with the 90s. Finally, you can contact us through our website, namely90s.com. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Audible, Hello Dear, Teaser, TuneIn, iHeart, Radio, Good Pods, and our video podcasts from Deezer and TuneIn smashed together. I'm Brandon, that's Andrew, and we'll catch you next time. Benny Hill plays. Yeah. Our outro music is just Benny Hill for no reason.